Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to a very, 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 very special edition of Dorm Talks with Chris and John. Chris, why are we so excited? Why are we wearing blue? Why am I wearing a Thunder jersey for the first time in my life?
Because, my friend, your Oklahoma City Thunder, for the first time in franchise history, have won the finals and are world champions.
Listen, man, I'm I'm not a Thunder fan, but I was pulling for them all the way ever since the Sixers weren't even there and the Grizzlies didn't even have a shot. So we were pulling for the Grizzlies all the way because, care about your friends, guys.
Yeah.
But so it was really cool. Because usually I pull for the underdog. Like
Mm.
9 out of 10 times I'm pulling for the underdog. But in this case, it was Thunder all the way. And I was really excited to see Oklahoma City get a championship, Shea get a championship. Um, just a team like it's weird for me to say as a Sixers fan, but like they did it the right way. Like, they knew exactly when to blow it up, and teams don't know when to blow it up.
Yeah.
Like you see teams either hanging on for things for a long time, or when they do blow it up, they don't do it the right way. But Sam Presti, he knew exactly when to trade Westbrook. He said, "Okay, this era was great, but we have a ceiling on this,"
hmm
and he reset at the perfect time. And it went from a rebuild that's looked like it had no end when you were like putting up lineups with you guys had some crazy lineups in the deep part of this. Um, but man,
Well, I think Commander Darius Baisley, man.
Darius Baisley, man. Shout out Isaiah Roby. Shout out
Shout out JRE.
Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Let's go,
Absolutely.
bro. Shout out Poku.
Oh
Big shout
man,
out Poku.
Poku. Shout out Poku. He just won over in Europe actually.
Hey, shout out Poku, man.
Yeah.
I think they should get Poku a ring.
Oh man.
I
There's a couple
think.
people that shout out Paul George.
Shout out Paul George built both teams, but he built the Thunder a little better.
These were the Paul George finals, and we saw which Paul George trade worked out.
It was funny because when I originally saw Paul George finals, I was like, I don't want to see. I'm like, me as a Sixers fan, it's like I don't want to see. Like I know he played for both teams, but then I sat there and thought about it. I'm like, oh snap, he really built both these rosters from the ground up.
They're the Paul
Because
George finals.
even the
Yeah.
Pacers were only like one, or it's like Paul George was traded for Sabonis. Sabonis was traded for Halliburton. It's it's ridiculous,
Franchise players owe everything to Paul George.
man. Maybe that's what Sixers need to do. Um, trade Paul George.
I
That's
think they,
that's why they got him, just to trade him.
I don't
All
know what
right,
he did
so
again.
I think uh, whenever I go into a playoff series, and I think this will start it off because I want to get this conversation out of the way because I really want to talk about the Thunder because I think they really deserve to be talked about this playoff run, and they're not going to be talked as much about as other champions usually are because of Tyrese's injury, right? Um, and right before the game, because I knew, like, I know how this thing's work. I've seen it before. Like, I've studied it a little bit in school. Like, I know that the Achilles was next. That was coming. It was a matter of if not when, and I was hoping. I said before the game started, I said I hope it pushes off for this game, and I hope he can get the treatment or whatever. But of course, it pops, and we all saw it because ESPN replayed it 5 million times. Um,
Well, I
so
don't
we
think they
didn't
were
miss
playing it
it.
enough. I think I'm going to see another angle actually.
Like we had to see the Achilles tendon shimmy a little more. Um,
Let's get that overhead drone angle they used on LeBron.
it's like yeah, we never want the fans to see that again in that angle, and they show a different angle.
That angle.
Um, so I don't know. I mainly because first of all, you cannot win a championship without having things break your way. It is impossible.
Yeah,
How the NBA works, how sports in general works is the healthiest team wins. The team with put in the best opportunity to win wins. It's what happens. It's sports. It sucks that he got hurt game 7. I I was heartbroken. Like
yeah,
I accidentally cussed in front of my little sister. I was so shocked. I was so upset. And it did take wind out of the game because it was set up to be an all-timer. Like
yeah.
an all-timer game. Who knows what would have happened, but from the way it was looking, that's what it was. But it's I never want these things to happen. First, you want people to be healthy, but it dominates the conversation and it takes away from the team that like the Thunder weren't on some miracle run that they only won because of injuries. They were the best team from start to finish.
Yeah.
They lost their third option most of the season and almost won 70 games. Like this was an insanely dominant team. So I feel like it is unfortunate that the Pacers didn't get a full swing at winning the finals, and they're probably going to be done for next year too. And we hope Tyrese does well. It just sucks that this is the conversation because the Thunder really deserve talked about, and the conversation of the Thunder are the worst champions, and whoever knows, it just doesn't make sense. There's no logic behind that argument, right?
I love those
So
conversations. I love them.
it's so stupid. And the other conversations that Halliburton was faking the injury to excuse his bad play, like
It's,
it's it's all idiotic, and basketball discourse is at an all-time low. So now that we got that out of the way, now I want to get that out of the way. What is your initial reaction to not initial because there were a few games out? What is your reaction to Game 7 of the finals now that the high's gone down a little bit? How do you feel the Thunder came out on that game?
um, so I haven't had, I've been rewatching a lot of it, obviously. I've been
Yeah,
just rewatching highlights, rewatching last minutes of it. And I think it's very hard to look back onto that game 7 and not see why people would say, oh yeah, if Halliburton was healthy, they would have blown out the Thunder,
yeah,
you know. But it's also a thing of people are ignoring how these game 7s usually go. When you look at it like through like historically, game 7s usually have superstars launching a bunch of shots, getting like really high volume stats, but having horrific efficiency.
yeah,
Like if you saw SGA's game, he shot like 8 for 27 and 2 for 12 from three, which is crazy. Like that just
yeah,
doesn't happen with him. But then he also had 30 and 12.
yeah,
Like zero assists until the fourth quarter. I mean, zero turnovers till the fourth quarter.
yeah,
So so looking at that, and then obviously it's like you see people saying, "Oh, efficiency this, efficiency that." That's just like some one thing I wanted to point out firstly. But I think a big part of this game was the defensive battle for
yeah.
both teams. Like obviously we saw
Talk
Chet
about it.
had the most blocks in the finals game 7 ever.
Everywhere.
Absolutely insane. He really stepped up, big shout out to him. He had been struggling so much on the offensive side of the ball to the point where he was like almost another Andre Roberson out there, really just being
Yeah,
used for his defensive tendencies. So for him, obviously we saw that. We saw the other Thunder players, obviously, they did exactly what they've been doing all year. Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, especially, you know,
yeah,
just blowing up any perimeter action, especially with Tyrese Halliburton out. A team is going to struggle to bring the ball up the court. Jalen Williams, obviously, SGA, Isaiah Hartenstein, all just terrific defenders. And also shout out to the Pacers on that defensive side of the ball.
yeah.
It's weird the way people talked about the Pacers going into it was like the Pacers were just a straight up bad defensive team.
Shout out Andrew Nimhard, man.
Yeah. Andrew Nembhard is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Now, was he really handsy with SGA in the final series? Yeah. But
So
this is the
like
playoffs.
that's defense, man.
You
Look
should-
at Lou Dort, bro.
exactly. Like so him, Andrew Naismith, Benedict Mathurin, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, all like excellent defenders. And they showed it this finals. Um,
Yeah,
like like I see so many people talking about their offensive side, but honestly, their defense is better than their offense is. Like when
they're
Tyrese Halliburton wasn't in, that offense didn't have those like crazy like runs, other than like TJ McConnell like turning into Steve Nash for like 3 minutes or so.
I thought you were gonna single-handedly do it for a minute there. Um,
You know how stressed I was watching that man for like 3 games straight kill my team? How did he do
I
it?
I think with these two teams, a lot of their offense is powered by their defense forcing turnovers and making plays in transition. And they have players that do that. Like you have these guys like a TJ McConnell and Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace that are just a Nimhard that are just always going to be where the ball is.
Yeah.
And if you take the ball off, you take your eyes off the ball for a second, they're gonna snatch it, they're gonna backdoor it, and then you got a transition play on the other end.
Hmm.
It's that's how these teams are powered. And when the Thunder had their really bad game, they weren't doing that, so they weren't getting their offense generated. And the transition offense, the defensive offense is what powers these teams. So the defense was everything, and you saw it. You saw Rick Carlisle. You can say a lot of like give a lot of criticism to Rick Carlisle and how he played his rotations, and he was throwing
Yeah.
like Thomas Bryant out there in clutch minutes, like just some like insane
Fixed
stuff.
on certain things, like the way he leveraged Tony Bradley's minutes, I thought
Yeah,
was really well. I thought like being able to get those type of minutes out of a guy who like I'm gonna be real with you, tell like most people they would not have known who that was coming into this final series.
if you weren't a Sixers fan, you probably didn't know much about Tony Bryant. Because we had Joel Embiid say build around Tony Bradley. um, um, yeah, I don't know. He did a really just it was just a well coached series. I think it was such a coaching duel where it really made some of the coaches look like idiots at some game because like it was so hinged on coaching decisions and how the defense was laid out. So it was a really cool chess match to watch in that game. And you just saw two really great coaches go at it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's been kind of a I can't say as much on the Pacers as I watched every Thunder playoff game this postseason. I haven't watched every single Pacers one, but I know I can speak on especially the Thunder with how they leverage their certain rotations. Like in round one, our rotation was pretty normal to what we usually run. Round two, you saw Jalen Williams, not the not J Dub, but J
Jay
Will was being
Will,
leveraged
yeah.
a lot to
Duke
guard Jokic.
Dennis.
Vietnamese Duke Dennis right there. And you saw him being leveraged a lot just to guard
Yeah,
Jokic, or you'd see that. But then in the next round against the Timberwolves, you'd see Kenny Williams be leveraged a lot to go small
yeah.
ball against Rudy Gobert. But then
Shout
in
out
the
Kenny
finals, you
Hustle.
saw But in the finals, you would see them kind of go back to that small ball lineup or just straight up cutting Isaiah Hartenstein out of the starting lineup or making him only play 20, 25 minutes a game.
Hmm.
So it's just a lot of like, you could just see that that's like kind of what, in my eyes, separates like good coaches from great coaches is that ability to make those changes and stick with said changes. Because even though we
Yeah,
saw a lot more success with the double big lineup in the finals, the way that they still were able to keep falling back to their small ball lineup because you'd see it'd be mentioned every time Pascal Siakam would check out, they'd sub in for a smaller lineup because they know that they wouldn't have to worry about somebody attacking the rim as much.
right. And I think Miles Turner being so bad offensively this series like helped
Yeah.
because
Oh
like my God, who was TJ McConnell the only one putting rim pressure like
yeah.
for the Pacers? Like who really was
Who's
putting rim pressure for the Pacers?
Mathurin?
Matherin, yeah. Oh, Matherin, yeah. Um, it was just really bad, and everyone's talking about like, will the Pacers shell out a bunch of money to Miles Turner? I don't know, man. That was rough.
But bro,
That was rough, and I don't know. It's more concerning on Miles Turner and then Chet's end, even though Chet got more of the conversation because Miles is just old. He's older. He's been around for. He played with Paul George on the Pacers.
the man has
Um,
been around for a while.
yeah, he's been in trade talks for most of his career, and
Yeah, wow.
I don't know. It's just it's stagnant, and it's the versatility and the depth the Thunder have to have different guys that do different things for different situations, and it really allows you to retool when you need, and that gave them a real a real plus this entire playoff run.
Yeah,
Just the ability to make adjustments when needed and to stick to it or to switch it up when it needs to be switched up, and to have a
yeah,
coach that's willing to do that.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, that's honestly that's completely true. To be able to do those switches, to be able to kind of change everything up. And I think another big part of it was how well coached teams respond to adversity
Mm-hmm.
in certain situations as well. We saw that from both the Thunder and the Pacers. You know, obviously the Thunder had their big downtimes with the game winner, which I think really set the tone for the series. Like if that doesn't happen, we might be looking at like a 5 game series instead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or how the Pacers with them dropping game 4 in such a crazy fashion,
That game forwards everything.
or them losing back-to-back games almost to close out the series for the first time in what, the whole playoffs. It's it's and then for them to bounce back in game 6, obviously to force the game 7 even.
Yeah,
So like the Thunder, they bounced back each time. They bounced back in game 4, came down. Like everybody thought that they were gonna lose that game going into the fourth quarter. I thought they were gonna lose that game.
yeah. I
And so for them to kind of just bounce back like that, that's just like another big thing about being well coached as a team is keeping your guys closer together. You
mhm.
know, not letting them see something like that and get easily discouraged is what allows these teams to make these runs. Because if anybody has noticed, the Thunder and the Pacers are completely built on the idea of basketball just being a game of runs. Like these two teams
Literally.
are very methodical, but most of the time, all those like big time like comebacks, all that is really just off of them gaining momentum and not getting off the gas pedal. That's why they've been able to beat every other team coming up to here. That's why we saw the Thunder blow out teams in each of their elimination games. That's why we saw the Pacers be able to make every clutch time bucket that they needed because they would catch a little bit of fire and just keep that momentum going. So for that, I think that's what really like separated these two teams from everybody else and allowed them to be in this position.
Yeah. I mean, I I think it's easy to say this in hindsight, but we really got the most interesting matchup when it came
Mhm.
to two finals teams because they're so similar in how they're
Yeah,
like structured. The Thunder just being just the more skilled deep team, but again, they're teams that are built off of momentum. They're built off transitions with power momentum,
mhm.
and when you lose a guy like Halliburton and you don't have a guy that can really be a floor general, and you ask TJ McConnell to run the floor, you get an increase of turnovers because you're playing a team that lives and dies off of defensive turnovers. And when you lose a guy like that, it's really, really hard. And at that
Mhm.
halftime, I was like, oh, are they going to. I said, game seven, anything can happen. They could
Yeah,
still win this. And I think they just kind of like drifted from the formula they had going on, which was the runs, right?
exactly.
Once they lost that run, it was like, okay, how are you going to get it back? And they almost started a run again, it was just too little, too late. And then they were just so good. The Thunder are just so good, and I feel like if the Thunder this offseason get like a sniper, a two-way sniper, they're
Mhm.
just gonna be like even better. Because if they have a guy that can just shoot the lights out, like you have Isaiah Joe, but him defensively is pretty like Isaiah Joe is pretty. He can be kind of icy hot, and he's
Yeah.
also a negative on defense. So he kind of played himself out of playing this series. But if you get a guy that can just like be in that rotation, that can just shoot the hell out of the ball, and also be okay defense wise, I mean, this team can be even better. And I think that was
Yeah.
like the one thing that was missing that gives you trouble in a game like Game 6 or makes you almost lose a Game 4
Mhm.
because it's hard to come back off mid ranges. It is.
Yeah.
They do it because they're so damn good at it, and they're so good at creating turnovers and just creating those opportunities. But you saw the flaws. This team wasn't the
Mhm.
perfect team that we thought they were going to be coming into it,
Mhm.
and they still won the championship. So
Yeah.
I think it just talks about how high the Thunder ceiling still is, and how awesome a series it was to see these two teams match up and really exploit each other's weaknesses.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also a big part of it is Chet Holmgren as a player.
Yeah,
Um, if anybody remembered in the beginning of the season, coming off the off season, he looked like far and ahead a lot better than Jalen Williams is.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Looked like he was going inching closer to like SGA's level than
those first two few games, man.
he was looking very like DPOI level while also being like a 20 plus point per game scorer.
And his hip was probably still bothering him up
Yeah,
until now. Like, who knows? Stuff with
yeah.
that stuff lingers, man.
So for for that, I think that's number one. I think that's like the biggest change from this team. Having him as that third option offensively is like a complete difference maker as far as things go. It
Mm,
stretches the floor out a lot more, and when he has like not limited hit movement, his ability to move like that off the dribble as a 7 footer creates every sort of mismatch problem that allows him to
yeah,
just play so well off of SGA. Especially with how SGA likes to operate as a playmaker. You'll see him a lot of times. He's not one of those guys that likes to make the early pass. He likes to get really deep into the paint before kicking it out, which allows a lot of the times allows his guys to get right into their form for their 3-point shooting, or allows them to get right they where they want to be and make the defense have to close out just like a second, half a second later. And I think that'd work out. What we saw it did for Jalen Williams, I think that's gonna do even more for Chet Holmgren as a big man. Because he's gonna direct a lot more attention than J-Dub, just simply based off the fact he's a 7'1" guy
yeah,
who's got like that type of reach.
yeah. Yeah. I think if he gets back to what he was doing at the beginning of the year, which I have no doubt he will.
Yeah,
I I mean, sky's the limit. J Dub is only going to get better.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, Shea's 26. Like we've seen players get better going into their 30s.
yeah,
So it's like this is why I mean, I feel like every year when there's a champion, we say, "Oh, they could do this more. They could keep going, right?" Because I mean, they were the best team in the league. There's going to be something that can carry on, but there's
yeah,
something different about a team that has so many young stars that are already like set for the future that are only going to get better, and then you have these role players, and if you lose them, it's like, oh, you hate to lose them, but you also have 15 first round picks in the next whatever years. So you just retool,
yeah,
and I think that's the brilliance of how this team is put together. That I mean, you see these Spurs teams in the early 2000s that you had your big three, and then it was just constantly retooled around them. It wasn't the same 10 guy
yeah.
rotation throughout. This is how you sustain, and you can still do it with the CBA because you just know where to put the money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I
Uh,
don't see why they can't at least compete for the next 5 years.
yeah. I think a big part of that is how their younger players develop too. I don't hear a lot of people talk about Nikola Topic. He's gonna have a whole year to rehab. We see what that's been doing for rookies lately, having that year
He's
to kind of sit behind, and then they immediately come in as an impactful player. But I also think the biggest guy who's due for a leap is Kasem Wallace.
yeah, Kaysen, yeah,
Um, I think obviously we see the things with the 3-and-D stuff. We see him like as one of the elite perimeter defenders, especially at his age. But I
yeah,
think another big thing about him is his aggressiveness and his playmaking. Like he really showed he can be like he was at times like what third best passer on this team behind J-Dub and Isaiah Hartenstein. And I think
yeah,
him being that good at the point guard position would help out more. Because you see a lot of people talk about is SG a two guard, is he a one guard? So to have another guy like that who can ball handle, who can play make, who can make the right passes and
yeah,
everything, that's just like completely opens up that offense way more. We saw him get like a couple poster dunks this postseason, and that's just built off of just a young guy having the aggressiveness to want to go get it.
yeah. Kaysen Wallace was actually like the guy I picked for like my most underrated this series, because no one talked about him. But if you watched, he was all over the place. I
Exactly.
mean, he was just that aggression you're talking about. He's getting his hands in there defensively. He's making shots in big moments. He had some like big time, big moments, clutch shots. And you're right. The play, and you know more about this, but the playmaking. I mean, it's there. He was able to make the pass to make the plays he needed to. Sky's the limit for him. He's going on his third year. I mean, and he's making real impact on a championship team.
Yeah.
It's it's ridiculous what they have. It
Yeah.
really is.
You know, yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it's really crazy to look at it when you look at how deep that team is, because it really does allow you to retool at a much more confident rate because you know you're gonna have another guy. You're gonna have everybody there has a next guy up mentality. Certain guys are on different timelines, like Alex Caruso. He's probably not gonna be here as long as everybody else might be,
Yeah,
which obviously sucks. Like he was probably their most impactful role player, but it's also a thing of that's fine because we know we have guys that are gonna step up in that place. And
yeah,
angling to the Pacers, as far as players that I feel like don't get talked about enough, it was kind of weird because it felt like everybody did get talked about.
yeah.
Like
Just
to
because of
this
the
point.
finals.
Yeah. Like not only that, but it also felt like everybody was like this whole thing about this Pacers team was like, oh, this is just a bunch of ragtag group. Like I obviously
Power
saw
friendship
everybody
type
talk.
team.
Yeah. We had the two power friendship teams
Yeah,
playing against the finals. So it was just a matter of who liked their teammates more.
exactly.
But not seriousness. So it's always I think it's not just a defensive thing, but it's also a thing of if you look at guys like Obi Toppin, you know, I think while he didn't have any, I don't think he had anywhere near as good as the series he had in the finals against that he had against like the Knicks or any of
Right.
their other rounds. His presence on the court, he still demanded a whole lot of attention to the OKC defense. When you look at a guy like Benedict Mathurin and Aaron Naismith, like constant rim pressure, shooting, extra defense, and like while their defense and like while we saw like, you know, times, we saw the end of game 4,
Yeah.
you know, but it's still like it still shows you flashes of what can be. And especially when we have a year coming in where Tyrese Halliburton isn't going to be there to be your main point guard, that gives your other guys so many more chances to step up.
Just opportunities to grow, man.
Exactly. Like we saw that's literally what happened with SGA. Having like what 3 years of tanking, not even tanking, 3 years of just playing with other
Yeah,
young guys, learning with Chris Paul. Like that's what really makes these players so much better.
absolutely. Yeah, it's it's a sucky situation. Have it going from like the highest high you've been in as an organization probably to since the Reggie Miller days to now you're going into next season without your star player, and it's like okay, like you still have Pascal, you still have this good. The team's going to be relatively the same, but we're missing that engine. It's like it puts you in a weird spot. but it gives you an opportunity to be like, okay, we're not winning this year, but we have the opportunity to get these young guys playing a full season in meaningful games. And then when Tyrese is able to come back, you just have a bunch of guys with a renewed confidence that, hey, we can do this by ourselves too.
Yeah.
And then it, it makes you all the better. I mean, I'm a Sixers fan. I saw Quentin Grimes and like
Oh,
Jared
that's
McCain
perfect.
at the beginning just get opportunities to be like, hey, we're not doing well, go. And Quentin Grimes dropping 40 every night. Like, are we expecting if Quentin Grimes resigns, are we expecting him to score 40 every night? No. But he's going to be able to either come off the bench and be an absolute spark or be a really good starter and help our backcourt, which we haven't had a scoring boost like that in a long time. So it's like, you know, it's you gotta take the good with the bad, and you could get some really good stuff with a year that you're just able to grow and just a decreased amount of pressure from just being in the finals because no one's expecting anything of you this year,
Yeah.
and you gotta take advantage of that.
Yeah. And especially with how wide open the East is
Yeah,
looking next year. Especially if you can get yourself into a playoff spot and, you know, all
yeah, he's
hope and
got
God
playoff minutes, man.
can come back.
Who knows?
Who knows what Gab? You can see another run like this happen all over again.
Honestly, it's not out of the question. It's
Stop.
not ridiculous to say that at all. It's not. It's not.
It's not. It's not at all. It's not. And that's the craziest part about it all. Yeah, you know, yeah. Big shout out to the Pacers. Big shout out to the Thunder. We this is probably the best final series we've had in the 2020s.
Yeah,
The
best
game.
best I've watched since the finals, Cavs Warriors. Yeah,
So you
yeah,
we've seen two I think two all-time teams. I think the Thunder, the obvious all-time team, but we've seen the Pacers have one of the all-time runs too.
yeah.
So this is we're gonna be looking back on this in a couple of years, like we looked at the I don't want to say the 2015 Cavs Warriors series,
I I hope we see him again, man.
but
I
yeah,
do.
I think this is not I don't think this is gonna be one of those one-off finals, you know?
Yeah, no, I hope the Pacers are able to if year after next they're able to compete again because it's just it's good basketball.
Good basketball.
It's good basketball. Yeah. Shout out to the Pacers. They're it's gonna this team's gonna be the ultimate what if. Like
Yeah,
you don't really know. I still thought the Thunder were gonna win that game, but who knows? You
who knows what happened?
you
You know,
don't know.
you never.
Um, because
And
that game wasn't a blowout.
yeah, and
It was not trending to be a blowout.
we shouldn't let ourselves be in the what if,
Yeah,
but yeah, that
I
game.
understand Pacers fans that live in that. I
It's funny because I feel like I've seen every fan base except for Pacers fans talk about that more.
right.
I
I
feel
feel like Pacers fans aren't even online right now, which I don't blame them.
I
I
wouldn't be
would
on.
I wouldn't be
I
online
wouldn't
at
be.
all.
I would not be recording this.
Yeah, no. As yeah, it's all the it's all well, yeah. The Pacers are gonna beat them either way. It's like people just love to hate. They just love to
Yeah,
hate, man. And it's like let's just
the
enjoy it
parody,
with
the
yeah. The
parody of this season,
parodies.
Thunder is crazy.
It's beautiful stuff, man.
Awesome. Love it.
Any final words on the finals?
It was great. I'm happy. No matter what people say about whether the Thunder are a good team or not, whether SGA's as good as he actually is, if he's a foul merchant, whatever, I don't give a shit.
All time season, bro. Scoring champ,
So
MVP,
VP,
Western Conference Finals MVP, Finals MVP,
like
first team All
68
NBA.
wins, first team All NBA. I need people to
Every
understand that they had 68 wins when they were missing both of their starting centers for a majority of the season.
it's unheard of.
Do not do that. That is
Shea
insane.
had an all time season, and I hope we can appreciate it. We need to appreciate greatness as we're seeing it.
Yeah.
We really do. So shout out Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, man.
This was a TikTok, by the way. Shay's already over James Harden all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, who else can I say? If he's gonna be for TikTok clickbaits. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard when he's 26 to say, but
yeah,
like
it
he
is hard.
sure as hell is trending it.
Sure as hell is. Greatest Thunder all the time already. I'm a big Russ fan too. Trust
I
me.
mean, he's got a championship. No one else can say that. None of these other all-time guys can say it, and
Yeah.
it matters. It matters. Like I'm so in the middle of like some people are toxic over ring culture, like Emmanuel Acho with the stupid
Oh
rings
my God,
divided by teams
the rings
played,
about the teams you play for.
the
Yeah.
the
Uh,
legacy equation. Um, when Emmanuel Acho has had no rings and played on like 15 teams for in like 5 years. So it's like,
weird.
but like I also know if you win a championship, the goal of playing in the NBA, in the MLB, in the NFL, and the NHL is to hold that trophy up at the end. And if you're the best player on the team that got that, that means something. If you are player 1A on a championship team, you're an all-time great.
Yeah. 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 And it's fun. It's gonna be really fun to see how like this these discussions around this team goes for moving forward because with how good the Thunder are, I wouldn't be surprised if they're back representing the Western Conference in the finals again. You know, whether they win or lose, SGA is the best player on the best team in the league.
Yeah.
So like it's like, you know, you're gonna have people saying Jokic or Giannis over him, but it's like it's starting to become a thing of are they? And you know, with how the NBA media markets everything, we're gonna definitely see some weird stuff with trying to figure out who the face of the league is.
Yeah. Cause it can't be Shea because he's Canadian.
Yeah.
So
He's a flopping Canadian. He can't be my league. He can't be my face of the league.
can't be it can't be Luca. He's Slovenian.
And he's
Um,
fat.
he's, I didn't expect you to say that.
Sorry,
Can't be,
I'm sorry. That's like the main talking point I see when people speak
it
about.
is. It is though. Um, yeah. It unfortunately absolutely is. All right. Should we get into some of these trades that happened this week? It was an insane.
Make sure no other trade happened from what we were told.
Oh, that's a good point.
Okay, I think we're good.
I think we're good. All right, let's start with the big dog. I was at the Club World Cup FIFA game watching Juventus versus Dad FC or AC, and I got a ding on my phone, and it was from Shams Charania saying the Phoenix Suns are trading two-time NBA Finals MVP Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick in 2025, and five second-round picks. Now, the Rockets could not have gotten a better deal for that.
Yeah,
You keep Tari Eason, you keep Cam Whitmore, you keep
keep Sengun, you keep Thompson.
Reed Shepard, you keep like Cam Whitmore did not touch the floor last year, and they kept him.
Insane.
And it's like the 10 overall pick, who cares?
Yeah, this
I don't.
it's so weird seeing the discourse around this trade because it's like I feel like people are doing that thing where they're trying to be too smart about a trade. They're like,
Yeah,
"Hey, you gave up all this for a 37-year-old KD." But when you look at it, it's like, did you really give up that much?
it's Jalen Green was at times a negative for them with how inconsistent he was,
Mhm.
and his contract's not good.
Yeah.
It's less than what it would have been if he actually played well. Like it's not a max, but it's not good for the type of player he is, which is no defense, all offense, which is the
Mhm.
exact opposite of what the Phoenix Suns need. So when I saw that they weren't gonna flip him, I was like, bro. And this gets me pissed off with owners like Matt Ishbia, right?
Mhm.
Because you have these brand of owners, and there's the ownership that like there's like three tiers, and it's like the owner that is so cheap and hands off that the team is like handicapped on what they can do because
Mhm.
the owner's just not giving resources. Then you have the ownership that is like way too involved and wants to be the GM and is just a billionaire that knows nothing about basketball but wants complete control of their team, so they're going to make the moves. And then you
Yeah.
have the guys that are in the middle where it's like, we'll give you all the resources we need, but I'm going to let the GM and the head coaches and the scouting team take care of all that stuff. I'm going to step back. You just tell me what you just let me sign the checks, and I'll do whatever you need. Matt Ishbia is the control freak owner, and he's not like Mark Cuban. And Mark Cuban knew ball. That's
Yeah.
why he was so good. Matt Ishbia has not shown me he wanted ball. It would be even if Devin Booker wanted some of these players, the way they did it was so boneheaded, right? 2021, you made the finals. I think Matt Ishbia bought the team after that. Yeah, I can't remember exactly,
Yeah.
but
Very obviously not Suns fans.
yeah,
Not at all.
but so you have this team in 2021 goes to the finals, elite team, and the year after that they had a really good season. They were so good. We talk about the Thunder and the Pacers. This
He
team
bought them in
was
2023.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was. Oh, he bought in 2020. Oh, that's even worse. Um,
Yeah.
that proves my point even more. They had a core of one superstar player in Devin Booker,
Right.
and then Chris Paul was the complement. He wasn't there to be a superstar. He's there to be a complement, and he was exactly what they needed.
Exactly.
And then you had a core of some of the best role players you could get, right?
Exactly.
You had
Some of the
Mikal
most sought
Bridges.
after role players today that
Yep,
people all in
Mikal
the league are.
Bridges, Cam Johnson. Mikal Bridges went for 5 first round picks. Cam Johnson gonna go for like 2 first round picks whenever he gets traded. Um, you had Cam Payne who had an all time year and was an all time and was like a really good all time year for his career. I didn't mean all time. All time a career high year for him, and he was an excellent backup point guard. And you just had all these guys. DeAndre Ayton fit into the system so well, and they were able to build off his strengths.
Yeah.
And so, what does Ishbia come in and do? He's like, okay, well, you trade Chris Paul, which is like fine, right? But you trade for Bradley Beal. Wait, well, let's not go there yet. You trade for Kevin Durant, and it's like the idea of trading for Kevin Durant is fine, right? But all those role players I mentioned, you trade to Brooklyn, you give them a bunch of first round picks. So now it's like, okay, dude, you're completely bought in now. You got Kevin Durant here. You put all his resources in. How are you going to build this team, right? And he decides to build the team. Like giving up that much for Kevin Durant was an issue, right? But what
Yeah.
makes the issue so much worse is when your idea of building around Kevin Durant and Devin Booker is go to get the worst contract in NBA history in a offensive player who's on a bad team in Bradley Beal and bring him in, who's also had injury history, and bring him in to where you have Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. One of them got to play point guard because you just shipped your point guard off to Washington
Yeah.
in Chris Paul. So now you got no one running the floor. Not to mention, you have 8 coaches in 8 years or something
Yeah.
stupid like that. And how can you expect to run a system when the coach changes every single year?
Exactly.
No consistency, no real plan. I could firing Frank Vogel and going right to Mike Budenholzer was doing the same exact thing. I don't know how they expected anything better. It was a complete disaster. It's malpractice how they're being ran, and if Matt Ishby is doing good things like putting a lot of effort into the WNBA team, the Phoenix Mercury, who's doing well, lowering concession prices, doing a lot for the fans and the city and whatnot. But the malpractice that he's doing on the Phoenix Suns, I want Devin Booker to be a four lifer. He's a guy that should be a four lifer, but I would not be mad at him if he has out of there because of how badly he's being run. And I know as a star player, he's made requests to get players he wanted, but there were so many bad decisions around that if the decisions were made better, this could have been so much better.
Yeah,
I don't think Devin Booker wanted Bradley Beal that bad. You cannot convince me of that.
I don't think I don't know. I don't really understand who would have wanted Bradley Beal there.
Like,
It's just
he
like
was a
it
good
feels.
player, but when Washington signed her that contract, it was like, whoa,
Yeah,
whoa. It
that was
was
a
ridiculous.
that was a. This is the only guy that is generally selling tickets for our team right now. Type of
Yes.
contract. That was not a basketball. That is not a okay. This can be like a building block to make something better. That was a okay. If he's not playing, and since we just keep having our like electric point guards just kind of be here for a couple years or be here for like 1 year and leave, then people just aren't going to watch these games. That was that type of contract. That
Yep.
was a that was a this guy's averaging the fakest 30 points per game of all time type of contract, you know. That was
Yeah,
a
like
Tobias Harris type of contract.
worse.
Yeah,
Worse.
honestly, way worse. Like so, yeah. And if you were even, and I'm pretty sure you remember at the time, everybody even thought when they saw that trade for him to go to the Suns, we were all thinking the same thing. Like,
I never
I,
thought good things about that.
yeah, like nobody. If everybody that watches the NBA could agree that that was a dumbass trade, then I'm pretty sure there's people behind the scenes that could also agree that's just not a smart trade.
Yeah. It's just so much better things you could do. Because you had assets. You still had assets. Although you gave a lot up for Kevin Durant, you still were able to. And I get it. Like, they're like, oh, we don't have to give up that much because we're taking on a contract. Don't take on the contract. Don't do it. Don't
You could just
do
not.
it.
We're not holding a gun to your head. You could just not do it.
Because now you have negative money and no draft picks.
Right.
So what are you supposed to do? The
Yeah.
only way out is to trade Devin Booker, and you can't trade Devin Booker.
Honestly, at this point, so they don't waste his career, they might have to.
Yeah, if you're Phoenix Suns though, a guy like that who's devoted his life to Phoenix
Yeah.
and just been homegrown and been there for a decade, unless he asks out himself, you don't trade him.
Yeah.
It's just the
Yeah.
principle of it.
Yeah. It feels weird, kind of like looking at like with players like Giannis too. When you look at those
Yeah.
guys, it's like 10 years ago, these guys would be for lifers and there would be no discussion about it. Right. And
Yeah.
once guys get traded, like when they're still relatively in their prime.
Yeah.
So it's so weird.
I I think Giannis I have less empathy for in terms of asking for a trade because like everything that they did, it's like Giannis was like, okay, if you don't make a move, I'm leaving, and they trade for Damian Lillard, and the Damian Lillard trade was not that bad. That
Yeah.
trade made sense. Like you lose
Yeah.
Drew Holiday, and I was like, that sucks, but also it's like you're gonna have to give up somebody.
Yeah.
And I think everyone 10 out of 10 times is going to give up Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard at the moment.
Yeah.
The Kyle Kuzma for Chris Middleton trade is a little
It's like that was more of like a Chris Middleton can't even stay on the floor. We need something.
yeah.
Kyle
And now
Kuzma the answer.
he just opted in for a $33 million contract. But yeah,
Christ.
he's Washington's interesting, man.
Yeah.
So So now the Houston side, we got Kevin Durant going to Houston. I love it, man.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
a trade for the Rockets.
like Jalen Green, inconsistent offense, bad on defense. Okay, let's just plug Kevin Durant in there and not
Jalen
really
Green and
lose
Devin
much.
Booker are not good enough role players for people to genuinely think that that's a bad trade for the Houston Rockets.
Right.
I
And
understand how people like to look at Kevin Durant nowadays, you know, as like, oh yeah, he's really not the type of guy who is gonna make everybody else around him better. But that's still Kevin Durant.
right.
Like,
He shot an all-time clip last year. Like he's still regardless you're going to get shooting and he's he's
you're still
he's
gonna
going
get
to
your
be able
go-to
to.
scorer.
Yeah,
That's exactly what that their go-to perimeter score.
and
They
they
needed a
needed
guy
it. And who else to get than Kevin Durant, especially for this package?
Kevin Durant.
It's it's insane, and he's not a negative defensively. Like he's no elite defender, but he's not Swiss cheese.
Yeah,
Like he's not prime, but man, I'm taking him over Jalen Green day in and day out.
yeah.
And it's like,
He does how Jalen Green would randomly have his really good games. He just does that on a nightly basis.
yeah, that's just his average.
That's just what he does. And he
Yeah,
does it more efficiently too.
exactly. I think the Suns were 4-17 without Kevin Durant or something stupid like that. So he still makes a team way better. If Kevin Durant wasn't on that Suns team, they wouldn't have sniffed the play-in. They
That's
wouldn't even
Cooper
like,
Flag right there.
yeah, they wouldn't have even been in like it wouldn't have been because they didn't have their draft pick because they gave it up. But but
It's so ass.
they would have been so bad. So it's like he's still contributing to winning basketball. Now he's on a team where the pressure's not even that much on him. It's a
Yeah,
great team.
that
And it's
does
like,
wonders for like Sengun, especially.
oh yeah. That, so much pressure off Sengun, man.
You know how much better his dribble handoffs can be when he has a competent perimeter scorer
It
to do
matters,
it with.
man.
You know,
Spacing matters.
you don't have to force the ball to Fred Van Vliet or worry about
Fred Van
Dylan Brooks
Fleet
setbacks.
Fred Van Fleet can take less shots.
Fred Van Vliet could take less shots.
That is the best news for the Houston Rockets and for Fred Van Fleet. This is glorious, man.
All you need to do is get rid of him and we're good. Nah,
Listen, Fred Van Fleet, I think he's going to be so much better
yeah, no, he is.
because they're not going to, because like I watched some of these Rockets games and watch him just chuck up shots.
Mhm.
And it's like, man, this is terrible, but who else is going to take shots?
Yeah,
It's like you almost can't blame him for taking these terrible shots because who else on the floor is going to take them?
yeah. I think that's like the biggest conundrum with having a guy like Sengun. Like
Yeah,
we're seeing teams go more towards like these electric unicorn big men that can do so much on the court.
it's the same thing the Magic had with Wagner, which is why they got Desmond Bain.
Exactly. But the issue is when they're not like generationally good, like a Joel Embiid or a Nikola Jokic are, or like aren't like some freak of nature, like
Yeah,
Giannis Antetokounmpo is, or like Victor Wembanyama, or even on a guy like Chet Holmgren or Karl Anthony Towns level, or
yeah,
like you know how prime Anthony Davis was. It gets so much harder for them to make good shots out of nothing. You know what I'm saying? We
yeah,
saw that especially with a guy like Domantas Sabonis. Like I was always like an all-star level guy, but when it came to like the playoffs and stuff, it's like, this guy really isn't that good,
yeah,
you know. So these type of like go-to perimeter scorers, they're gonna be so great for them. Like it's like either those type of archetype of players or those electrifying playmaking point guards. Those are like what's gonna make those guys look way better and allow
yeah,
them to potentially take that next step because they're gonna be able to do a little bit more.
yeah, absolutely. It's it's a big deal, and it's so smart of them because it's like, oh, you have a young team. Do you want to go all in? This isn't even all in. This is not all in.
Yeah,
It's like it's so low risk. It's one of the most low risk Kevin Durant trades you could ever have because the important thing is they can't be done. They
yeah,
they have the resources to make more moves. Now you have Kevin Durant. Now you got to go all in, and you don't got to
yeah,
go all in a stupid way. You can be smart, but it's like you need to capitalize because Kevin Durant got. I mean, you don't know how he's 37. The drop off can happen at any point, even though it doesn't
yeah,
look like it will this year. He still looks great. He's also not incredibly healthy. Like he missed a
yeah.
lot of games, but it's like he puts you in a better position, and you need to capitalize on it now.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's the Kevin Durant trade. We don't have to go through all of the trades, but I think I wanted to hit on the Drew Holiday Anthony Simons trade.
How do we
It
keep allowing this?
was what was that?
How do we keep allowing the Celtics to do this?
I it's so weird from the Celtics too because it's so Boston Celtics have traded Drew Holiday to the Portland Trailblazers for Anthony Simons and two second round picks.
Yep.
So starting on the Boston side, obviously it's going to be a gap year. You have you already traded Porzingis away. I don't think we need to talk too much about the Porzingis trade. It's good
Who
for Atlanta. I think it's a good risk for Atlanta. I think
did the
getting
Celtics get in that?
Trey Young. What was that?
Who did the Celtics get in that trade?
Uh, like a second round pick, cap space, and George Niang.
Okay, so he went to the Celtics. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Terrence Mann went to Brooklyn
Okay,
with another first round pick. Um,
okay. That was a weird team. That was a really weird trade.
it was a
Yeah, about that.
strange trade. So this trade, so Celtics are obviously going to take a little bit of gap year. So it's like
Yep.
you bring Anthony Simons in, and he'll be your scoring, right? He'll be your
Yeah.
scoring duo off of Jalen Brown. Can't play like a
Hopefully.
defense.
Yeah, we know they're here. We're hearing about Jalen Brown could potentially be on the trading block as well. So
Yeah, Jalen Brown might be gone too. It's interesting because so you get rid of Holiday and you get rid of Porzingis, so you're under the second apron. Do they want to go more under the?
yeah, it's definitely weird. I feel like we all knew they were gonna get rid of Holiday and Porzingis. We knew they were gonna get rid of Porzingis after these playoffs. Like everybody knows something wrong with him. I'm not gonna say what people are saying that is wrong with him
We don't
because
have to.
that's absolutely insane. But you know what I'm talking
I
about.
I'll just say him going to Atlanta did not help the jokes.
Yeah. Yeah,
I my
it was
timeline is poison.
yeah. So that was to be expected, and the Drew Holiday trade honestly was to be expected too. We all knew that was going to happen in the next like year or two, and the Tatum injury only kind of sped it up now. But
Yeah,
the Jalen Brown trade is definitely like a. Are you sure?
you're hearing a lot of rumblings about it. I don't think it makes sense to trade him.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like teams are gonna line up out the door for
Oh,
Jalen Brown. He is every it's every offseason with every team. It's the Warriors looking for two-way wing that can shoot and defend.
yeah,
Uh, they want it's like every team, every single team wants a 3-and-D wing, a 3-and-D wing. Jalen Brown is the ultimate 3-and-D wing.
yeah,
Like he is the epitome of a 3-and-D wing.
yeah,
So teams are gonna line up out the wazoo for this guy, right? So you're gonna have teams outbidding teams, outbidding teams, outbidding teams. You're gonna have an insane offer. You gotta
yeah,
decide when Jason Tatum comes back, what the hell is he coming back to?
yeah. I saw a meme earlier that was Will Smith in the empty house. It's like, yeah, that's kind of how Tatum's gonna feel coming back to this team because in 2 years, what does this team look like? You know what I'm saying? Who retires? Who is getting traded again?
Right. As a Sixers fans, I want to be like, this is the downfall of the Celtics. Let's go. But at the same time, I know Brad Stevens, and Brad
Yeah,
Stevens has shown that he's an excellent a better general manager than he was as a coach, and he was a damn good coach.
yeah,
And he has to have a plan.
yeah.
And in order for him to trade Jalen Brown, there has to be like they would have to get like a young guy that can like have like superstar potential.
Hmm.
And I don't know where that comes from because he has to be young because he has to be cheap.
Hmm.
So you can build around him and Tatum in a year.
Yeah.
And I just don't know where that comes from. So I'm going to be. And then I heard rumors that they're looking to move into the lottery.
Really?
So it's like maybe you go,
Oh, so
hey,
maybe they go trade him for a.
San Antonio, we want Dylan Harper. Here's Jalen Brown. Can you give us Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, and whatever, and we'll give you Jalen Brown. I could see them doing that, and then you have a little bit of foundation to build off of.
Yeah, because you think about this year's lottery, the top three teams are teams that are going to be looking to contend,
Yeah,
like
so
either next year or or in the next like 2 years.
right. You're I don't see a world where they trade Jalen Brown to the Sixers. I don't think
Yeah,
they would even entertain that.
I don't
The
know. I don't
Spurs,
know. They might not even look at them as rivals. It's just a one-sided rivalry with the Sixers.
it's not a rivalry, they always beat our ass, man.
Yeah,
um yeah, but I could see them doing a deal with San Antonio. I
yeah,
could
I could.
absolutely see the second overall pick, Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, uh, which is a lot, but you're getting Jalen Brown and
Yeah,
Jalen Brown with De'Aaron Fox, Wembanyama. That's a good, really, really good team.
that's a good team. That's a really good team. Yeah, that helps out Wemby so much having those type of guys around.
Yeah, because I mean, Jalen Brown, shooter, defender. So it's
Having
like,
opposite wings does a lot for a big man.
yeah. So if I'm the Spurs, I'm very aggressive with that.
Yeah, yeah. But
So
if I'm the,
go ahead.
I kind of like if I'm the Spurs, I kind of like keeping my team as young as I do because I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't look at De'Aaron Fox as a piece that's going to be there when we're really trying to contend, unless he happens to stay really good as he gets older. But I see all these other young pieces here, and I'm like, especially with One Piece injury history, you're going to probably be in the lottery again,
yeah,
depending on how good your second overall pick is here.
yeah, probably. And I think they have their picks. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't
Yeah,
think they
I don't know
don't.
exactly how that works, but I think they do.
You
But
know who we haven't mentioned for the Celtics?
what was that?
Derek White. I just thought about that. I don't think he'll be getting traded, but that's definitely like
They just paid
interesting.
him.
Yeah, yeah, he's not gonna get traded, but yeah, he might be like the one centerpiece that we know is gonna be like here, like him and maybe him and like Peyton Pritchard and
Yeah,
Al Horford might be the only three that I think are like staying.
and you got to think this is Al Horford's last, one of his
Right.
last. He's getting in that.
He might stay just to play with Tatum one more year.
Yeah, or I could see him before the season starts retiring because seeing the year kind of depending on how like if Jalen Brown gets traded, I could see him be like, all right,
He's like, all right, we're not gonna be doing anything this year. I'm just
if you need me for a playoff run next year, give me a call. Boy, I'm gonna go chill on the couch and watch how this goes.
I just work part-time in the playoffs for the NBA. That's fun.
Exactly. Like, hey, if you need a call, let me know. Now, on the Portland side, I don't get this at all, especially
I'm assuming
because,
Portland's doing something else with this.
well, it seems like because this is the second time they trade for Drew Holiday, and Drew Holiday very much does not want to play in Portland,
Yeah.
and Jalen Brown was going to retire until the Celtics won a championship. He was ready to retire, but he signed an extension with the Celtics because he liked playing with the Celtics. He does not want to play in Portland.
Yeah,
He does not want to help a young team go to the play-in tournament.
yeah.
Um,
He wants to
I
go
think
win.
they,
I don't,
yeah, I think you're gonna have to reroute him. But in the idea he stays, because everyone's assuming he's gonna stay, I don't think that's what he wants. But you have a really good defensive team. You have you have Kumara. You have what's his face, the guy they got from Washington, Denny Advia. It's like Matisse Thybulle. You have like a defensive team. You have Scoot there. They would be a defensive center team with a bunch of young electrifying players.
yeah,
Um, which is cool, but you trade Anthony Simons and two second round picks with Anthony Simons to get a big contract for an old guy.
yeah. It just I think I Anthony Simons was their best player, but I think I guess they're really leaning into Scoot and Shaden Sharp just being that much better.
Yeah, like I thought they should have traded Anthony last year.
Yeah,
I think it was good, but if this is your package, how does this help you?
yeah. Because at that point, yeah, his trade value was a lot higher last year too.
Yeah,
Like teams were
and
like
I
looking.
I still think this year you could have got better than that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So if your plan is to keep Drew Holiday, it's like what do you? I guess they just want competitive basketball back,
I guess.
but
But
it's
Drew
like
Holiday isn't the type of guy that's gonna
he's
like
not a floor raiser.
yeah, like he's a good playmaker. He's all that, but like we've seen it. We saw it with the Bucks, but he was actually their second guy.
Sorry, he might be a floor raiser. He's not a ceiling raiser.
Yeah. Yeah, like we saw with the Bucks when he was actually a second guy to score.
Yeah,
How like especially at his age now, how much better do you think he's gonna make your team?
I it doesn't it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
It
it just
really doesn't.
yeah. The
I don't
fact
know.
that this
I'm
just got such a good young, so insane. You
yeah.
give him a year with like good players like this, you know what I'm saying? Let him get a little bit better, and then he's
You
gonna
you
go
can
do this.
either trade him or resign him.
Yeah.
Because if he's really good and you guys suck by the deadline, but you can ship him off to like Orlando or whoever and get some assets, that's a win, man. That's a big win.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely.
So I mean, it's cool for Boston. I'm just
Yeah.
interested to see what happens with Boston
Yeah.
because it could be a whole lot or it could be nothing at all.
It could be. It could be. It could be. It could be. Definitely could be.
um,
What did you think about Minnesota's trade package for KD?
that was that was it was like
It
Dillingham.
was Dillingham, Gobert, I think, right?
Oh, I didn't see this one.
I, let me see. I just saw they call it Poole and Zion, Timon and Pumbaa.
That's really funny. Um, Kyrie Irving also signed a 3-year, $119 million deal. Nico Harrison had his life saved by getting a
Oh,
first
okay. So the
overall
Wolves
pick.
offer was Rudy Gobert, Dante DiVincenzo, and then either Dillingham or Shannon, and then the 17th pick.
That's still better than the Phoenix package. I mean,
Yeah.
than the Houston package.
But I think it was also that Katie didn't want to go there.
Right. Which I would have loved him there.
Oh yeah.
But it's like if you trade Gobert, your defense is bad.
You better hope Katie, Nas Reed, and Ant score 100 million.
Yeah. Your defense is really bad.
Yeah.
What I think, if it's true, that the Cavs offer Garland, they're
That's
idiots.
yeah, that's crazy.
Like if they willingly offer Garland and you turn it down, there's no hope.
Oh
There's
yeah,
no hope.
maybe they see something with this 10th pick with Jalen Green. Well, maybe not Jalen. Your guard rotation is Jalen Green, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. It feels like you just like did the same player, but it just got worse. It's like it's like Devin Booker if he was bad, and then Bradley Beal if he was also bad.
If it's October, end of October, and I see a starting lineup with Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Jalen Green, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah,
That is the nastiest thing I've ever heard in my life.
it's so funny. It's so weird to see the Suns trade away. Like think about it, how the Suns traded away Chris Paul, and then since they traded him away, they've been looking for a guy that can play make like that.
When you
It's
could
like
just kept it.
because just yeah,
You could have just kept it and retooled around.
yeah, there's like so many different things you could have done. It's like I know we ragged on the Suns and their ownership, but like
But man, they give so much to rag on.
it,
So much.
just like what are you doing? You know, it's just like you just haven't made any good decisions for this team. So yeah, I don't. I guess it's a good package. No, it's not. I'm not gonna pretend it is. It's not a good package.
It's not good.
That's Kevin Durant. You gave up so much to get him, and then you when you really think about what they turned that original trade package into,
It's
and all
bad.
they have to show for it is a playoff series win against a team that was heavily injured going into that series.
It's bad.
It's so bad.
And they shot themselves in the foot, making it known that they had to trade him before the draft
Yeah,
because they had zero leverage.
yeah.
Because they're right, you had to trade him before the draft because you needed a pick this year.
Hmm.
But you should just trade him at the deadline. Like,
And then yeah, then he was allowed to just kind of dictate where he wanted to go. And he said what? Houston, Miami, and was it San Antonio?
yeah,
Yeah. And we know Miami, I don't know if that's like a serious team over there. I don't know what they do.
I would have hated him to go to Miami. I would have hated that.
Oh yeah, I didn't want that either. But we don't have to we don't have to worry about that. Pat Riley might actually be like senile at this point.
Might be.
Like I don't
Might
I think he
be.
was just joking around when he was like trying to recruit KD because there's no way they thought like Duncan Robinson, Andrew Wiggins, and a first round pick were gonna get him.
Hayward Highsmith.
No, I think they said they didn't want to put him in that trade either. Yeah, I remember I saw they said that we don't want to put our pick in this year's draft. We don't want to put Jaime Jaquez Jr. in there. We don't want to put Highsmith in there. We don't want any of our good players in that trade, but we'll figure it out. And it was like,
Imagine
wow.
talking to someone 10 years ago and say, yeah, in the future, the Miami Heat will turn down a trade for Kevin Durant because they didn't want to include Jaime Jaquez Jr.
Who the fuck is that? I hate Jaquez Jr. God
They
damn.
don't want to. They want to put in Hayward Highsmith,
They don't want to
Delaware
put
Blue Coats legend.
random role players that aren't that good, you know. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just kind of how the Heat are now, though. You know, they're just kind of a franchise.
They are certainly a franchise.
Yeah, they're a franchise. Yeah,
All
you know,
right. Is
Jimmy
there
Butler
anything
and
else we want to hit on?
yeah. Um, Go Thunder. They were gonna repeat again. The East is wide open and the West isn't that good. The West is the
West
Denver Nuggets, the Thunder, and whatever the Timberwolves are doing next year.
and the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's go. Retooling coming soon.
This
Let's
guy,
go, boys.
guys. Be
Let's
serious,
go.
people. That's another Miami Heat.
Let's go. This man. This man will save us all.
And wherever Russell Westbrook decides to go,
He's going back to Oklahoma State.
look better.
Um. Oh, and VJ Edgecombe, welcome to the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's go. Athletic guard we always needed.
Yeah. Uh, Two early picks. Sixers, Thunder finals.
Because who else? Who else would? If Joel is healthy, Sixers Thunder finals.
That's a big if. That's a
If
Justin Herbert level if.
all right now, it's not that big. If not, Cavaliers.
The Cavs are just one of
That's the that's the only other team with like no question marks. The Knicks.
uh, yeah, Cavs, Knicks, Sixers, yeah, goddamn.
It's
The Magic?
bleak. Magic. Yeah, Magic. I think I like the Magic better than the Cavs. I don't know. I have to think about that. I have to think about
I
that.
like a lot of teams better than the Cavs. I'm not gonna lie. I know they had a lot of injuries, but man, I am not moved by that team at all. I wasn't moved during the regular season, and I wasn't moved now.
I just really like Donovan Mitchell. I think
Yeah,
he's
I
a really
think
good
he's
player.
cool. I like the Cavs players. I just don't think they're that good of a team.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to trade one of those centers. It's definitely gonna be
It's
Jared
gonna be
Allen.
Jared. It's gonna be Jared
Oh
Allen.
yeah, Evan Mobley took that leap this year, which I was really
Evan
glad he
Mobley's
did.
like really good. Jared Allen, he's kind of he's solid. Isn't Jared Allen an all-star?
He made he was before.
The fuck did he make an all-star team?
He's gonna be a Laker.
Everybody's gonna be a Laker until nobody's a Laker. It
What
happens
does
every
that
year.
mean?
I don't know. I thought of the shit he said from Incredibles. When everybody's super, nobody's super. When everybody's in a Lakers uniform, nobody's a
Nobody's
Laker.
in the Lakers uniform.
Well, exactly.
Nobody's in the league. That's for sure because everyone's on the Lakers.
Yeah. Fucking Lakers. You know,
Hey, shout out Camila Cardoso for dropping 27 points in a Sky win, her career high.
shout out Angel Reese. I just saw her stats today.
They were
Double
cooking.
double.
I was watching a little before we started, man.
And shout out Caitlin Clark. She is 1 for 21 on her last 21 3-point attempts.
She's so bad. And DeWanna Bonner, future Hall of Famer, has said she never wants to play for the Thunder for the Fever again, and she demands a trade.
Yeah. And shout out the rookie of the year, Paige Beckers.
Shout out Paige
Hashtag
Beck.
should have been a storm.
That Washington, I watched that Washington game where she hit. They lost, but she hit a three to send it to overtime. I was like, bro, it was
Do you know
so
why
cold.
I was telling you she should have been a storm, man? This hurts me. I'm not becoming a Dallas fan.
Skylar Diggins Smith. Don't worry, you guys have Skylar Diggins Smith, man.
I don't care. I've been waiting for this for years, man.
I know,
This,
bro.
this
I'm
is like a
sorry, man.
decade in the making.
All right, on that note, we're going to call it a night. We thank you guys, if you stayed all the way through, for listening to us yap about ball. This is what we love to do, man.
Yeah,
Like, yapping about
that's right.
hoops at the base is what we do.
Yeah,
It's what we do. We don't even need prompts. We can just talk hoops for hours, man.
yeah. We would love to, but we're both tired.
Yes, and we got lives tomorrow.
I don't, but he does.
Yeah, I gotta work 8 to 4 on my birthday, so yay.
Oh my
But
God, your birthday tomorrow.
it is my birthday tomorrow.
Oh my God. You know, I kept thinking it was like Friday.
I wish.
Dude, that would have been so lit.
A Wednesday birthday sucks.
Okay, it's cool. I'll bring a couple White Claws to your house. White Claw Wednesday.
I can't drink. All right, that's gonna be all for Door Talk with Chris and John. We will
Yeah,
see you next
let me
week.
do the Lamar Jackson camera draw.
Make an edit of that. Someone make an edit of that. All right, we're out.